What is actually wrong? This question often becomes the voice that keeps echoing inside the mind of someone experiencing depression. You begin to lose interest in many things, you no longer see a future that feels worth pursuing, and every day becomes a painful reminder that you are drifting further away from yourself. The world continues moving forward, yet you feel increasingly disconnected from it. Slowly, you withdraw from everything, seeking a place to hide within your own thoughts. Sleep, small distractions, and various forms of escape only provide temporary comfort because they allow you to forget the reality that, deep down, you no longer feel like yourself. However, perhaps the way we approach depression needs to be viewed from a different perspective. Instead of constantly searching for answers or trying to fix ourselves as if we are a problem that needs to be solved, maybe we need to understand that some parts of life simply do not have clear answers. To understand this, we can look at the experience of one of the greatest figures in literary history, Leo Tolstoy. Although he was known as a brilliant writer, had a loving family, and had achieved great success both intellectually and physically, Tolstoy still experienced a profound crisis during the middle of his life. Beneath all his accomplishments, he became haunted by one fundamental question. What is the true purpose of everything I do? What is the meaning of life if, in the end, every human being must face death? That question continued to consume him. Tolstoy began asking, why should a person continue living? Why should humans desire things, pursue goals, and take action if everything will eventually come to an end? He searched for a reason that could make life feel meaningful, even in the face of inevitable death. When confronting this despair, Tolstoy recognized that people usually respond to this kind of existential crisis in several different ways. Some choose to ignore it and continue living as if the question never existed. Others may see ending their own life as the only possible escape. Some decide to keep living not because they have found the answer, but because the alternative feels too frightening. And others choose to embrace the pleasures of life, focusing on the present moment and enjoying whatever experiences they can while they still have time. However, Tolstoy realized that this final approach was not something everyone could truly pursue. For many people, life does not provide the comfort or circumstances needed to simply enjoy existence without searching for a deeper meaning behind it. Eventually, Tolstoy made a decision that might seem simple and even naive to some. He chose to take a leap of faith. He began to understand that his endless search for answers, his constant self-analysis, and his attempt to intellectually understand everything were actually becoming the source of his suffering. As Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, if a pencil is sharpened continuously, eventually there will be nothing left of it. The same can happen to human beings. Constantly dissecting every thought, emotion, and aspect of our existence can make us lose the ability to simply experience life itself. When Tolstoy accepted that perhaps humans will never fully understand themselves, other people, or the complete mystery of existence, he slowly began to rediscover his appreciation for life. He no longer viewed life as something that always needed to be explained, but as something that could simply be experienced. This does not mean that someone experiencing depression must become religious or adopt a specific belief system. The broader message is that depression does not always have to be seen as a puzzle that must immediately be solved or a problem that must constantly be fixed. Sometimes, feelings of emptiness, uncertainty, and questions about life are things that need to be understood gradually, not as an enemy that must be defeated, but as a mystery that needs to be explored. Depression is often seen as nothing more than a condition that needs to be fixed as quickly as possible. But perhaps there is another way to look at it. As several philosophers have suggested, depression is not merely a problem that needs to be eliminated. It can also become a form of understanding that leads us towards something we had never recognized before. It signals that there is a part of ourselves waiting to be discovered, understood, and explored more deeply. Facing depression does not simply mean trying to return to the person we used to be. Instead, it may be an opportunity to rethink the way we see life, shift our perspective, and question how we understand both ourselves and the world around us. To do that, we must leave behind the habit of searching for quick answers to everything. We need to see depression as a mystery worth investigating. The greatest mystery is the distance that has formed between who we truly are and the version of ourselves we experience while living with depression. Pain has a unique way of making us more aware of our own existence. It reveals things that may have previously gone unnoticed. It outlines the boundaries of who we are and reminds us that something within us is asking to be understood. As the philosopher Byung-Chul Han once wrote, "I feel pain, therefore I am." This is where the investigation begins. If depression is a mystery, then we must become investigators searching for the source of that pain. Like detectives, our task is to uncover what is really happening within our minds and our lives. But before any detective can solve a difficult case, they must first accept the reality of the case itself. The same is true for depression. The pain that appears as anhedonia, profound sadness, exhaustion, or anxiety cannot be denied forever. The first step is simply to acknowledge that the pain exists. Accepting pain, however, does not mean facing it alone. Depression can become overwhelming, sometimes too overwhelming to carry without support. A good detective makes sure they are prepared before taking on a difficult case. Likewise, anyone trying to understand their depression must first make sure they have the strength and support needed for the journey ahead. Sometimes the first step is not finding the answer, but creating the conditions that make the search possible. That may mean speaking with a therapist, getting a medical checkup, improving your diet, receiving professional treatment when necessary, or changing an environment that may be making things worse. These changes may not immediately cure depression, but they can provide the stability and strength needed to better understand yourself. Once we have accepted our pain, the next step is to move beyond constant self-analysis and toward a broader state of awareness. According to Jiddu Krishnamurti, awareness is the ability to observe without judgment or condemnation. It is not about criticizing yourself, but about seeing yourself honestly, calmly, and without immediately labeling what you find. This approach is often described as compassionate curiosity. It means learning to see yourself not as someone who is broken or has failed, but as someone trying to understand something that has not yet been fully revealed. It encourages us to question the beliefs, habits, and ways of thinking that we have always assumed to be permanent. Things that once felt unquestionable are turned over and examined again, not with self-blame, but with openness and curiosity. One of the most powerful ways to develop this kind of awareness is through our relationships with other people. Like two detectives working together to solve a complex case, meaningful relationships allow us to see things that we could never discover on our own. At first, the process may feel uncomfortable, but over time, trust and mutual understanding begin to grow. Other people can offer new perspectives, ask questions we have never considered, and remind us that understanding ourselves does not have to be a lonely journey. Friendship becomes a space where we can speak openly without fear of judgment or ridicule. Through genuine connection, our perspective expands, and we begin to realize just how much there is still to learn about ourselves and about life. One remarkable example of someone who found meaning through depression is the philosopher John Stuart Mill. From an early age, Mill was raised by his father according to the principles of utilitarianism, a philosophy that teaches that the highest goal of life is to maximize happiness for oneself and for others. Because of this rigorous upbringing, Mill became exceptionally intelligent and devoted himself to a noble purpose, making the world a better place. He believed that happiness would eventually come through years of pursuing that goal. But at the age of 20, Mill experienced something he had never expected. He fell into a deep depression that quickly became a profound existential crisis. He began questioning everything. If his entire life had been devoted to achieving a particular goal, then what would happen once that goal no longer brought him happiness? If he accomplished everything he had spent his life striving for, would there still be any reason to keep moving forward? Mill realized that the very thing which had once given his life meaning had suddenly lost its power. He felt as though he no longer had a reason to live. Yet that painful experience ultimately became a turning point in his understanding of life. His depression forced him to recognize that human beings do not live by achievements and goals alone. They also live through the ongoing process of understanding themselves more deeply. John Stuart Mill eventually discovered a paradox that many people overlook. The more we make happiness the central goal of our lives, the harder it becomes to actually experience it. When our entire existence revolves around the desire to be happy, every decision begins to revolve around a single question. Will this make me happy? Ironically, that very mindset often pushes happiness even further out of reach. This idea is also supported by modern psychological research. In one study, Huda and Ryan found that people who pursued goals because they were personally meaningful experienced greater and more lasting happiness than those who pursued goals simply to become happier. Their findings suggest that happiness is not something we can force into existence. More often, it emerges naturally as a byproduct of living a meaningful life. Mill eventually reached the same conclusion. He realized that happiness could only be found once he stopped treating it as his primary objective. Truly happy people are not those who spend their lives chasing happiness itself, but those who devote themselves to something greater than their own emotional satisfaction. When we dedicate ourselves to something genuinely worthwhile, happiness often arrives on its own, not as the destination, but as an unexpected companion along the way. But how did Mill completely transform his perspective? The answer did not come through another philosophical theory or a perfect explanation. Instead, it came from something that helped him break free from the endless cycle of self-analysis. He discovered the writings of William Wordsworth, a poet whose work explored not only the beauty of nature, but also the emotional depth of human experience. Mill described Wordsworth's poetry as a kind of medicine for his troubled mind. Through those poems, he encountered emotions, sensitivity, and ways of experiencing life that he had long neglected. For the first time, he learned that life was not meant to be understood solely through reason. It was also meant to be deeply felt. That experience gradually transformed Mill's entire philosophy of life. He realized that he had spent years treating almost everything as a means to an end. Learning, working, and even trying to improve the world were never valuable in themselves. They were simply steps toward another destination.